After being kidnapped, a young woman finds herself trapped in a high-tech house with an AI that learns faster than she can escape. Julia is a street-smart, easygoing young woman and a petty thief living in one of the city's rougher neighborhoods. At night, she prowls local nightclubs, targeting men with charm and flirtation. Her goal isn't romance, it's theft. She lifts wallets, jewelry, and phones, then makes a quick getaway to fence the goods with the head of a local crime ring. The payment is far less than promised, but Julia has no choice but to accept it. On her way home, she doesn't notice the shadow following her. Once inside her small apartment, she sheds her flashy dress and wig, revealing her true self. She hides the stolen cash, every dollar saved for school and a better life. While relaxing and washing dishes, the lock on her door suddenly rattles. Someone is trying to break in. Before she can react, she hears a sound. She turns. Too late, a stranger grabs her from behind and injects her with a sedative. Some time later, Julia wakes up in a hidden laboratory. Her mouth is gagged, her arms and legs bound. She's become a test subject in a series of disturbing experiments. Flashes of painful memories and searing agony overwhelm her, and she blacks out again. When she wakes up next, she's in a sterile, windowless room that feels like a prison. Her mouth is still gagged, her wrists tied. Panic sets in. She tries to escape but fails. She's not alone, 2 other people in identical clothing are trapped with her. Fearful and wary, Julia backs away, only to be electrocuted by a high-voltage barrier. She notices implants on the backs of the man and woman's necks. Checking herself, she finds one too. That's when it hits her. They're all prisoners in a sadistic psychological experiment, orchestrated by a madman who's turned this place into his personal human lab. Soon, the cell door opens, but Julia is frozen with fear. A mysterious man appears, intimidating her and ordering her to stand. When she doesn't comply, he enters the room and forces her out with a stun baton. Once in the hallway, a twisting maze of cold corridors, an automated system guides Julia, pushing her where it wants her to go. Eventually, she ends up back in the lab chair, where the man examines the implant embedded in her neck. Satisfied that the wound has healed and the device is impossible to remove, the deranged scientist initiates a new experiment, this one designed to plunge her into traumatic memories from her past. Back in the cell, Julia secretly steals a pair of surgical scissors. First, she cuts off the gag strapped over her mouth and convinces one of the other captives, a black man, to help her. The others, known only as Subject 1 and Subject 2, are paralyzed by fear and reluctant to risk escape. Julia rips off the man's mask, forcing him to join her. She tears strips from her pants to fashion a long rope, attaching the scissors to the end. Her plan, to use it to disable the electrified cell bars. But when she approaches, she spots a sparking transformer under dangerously high voltage. Nearby, a gas pipe offers another, riskier option. In a bold, and borderline insane, move, she damages the pipe and slams the scissors into the transformer, triggering a powerful explosion. Armed with fragments of the broken metal bars, the 3 prisoners make a run for it. They find an elevator and ride to the upper level, realizing for the first time that they're inside a smart house owned by the madman who's been experimenting on them. No one will come looking for them. They're all people society has forgotten, linked to crime and poverty. Knowing their survival depends on escape, they search for the front door, but it's locked with a biometric palm scanner, accessible only to the owner. Subject 1 tries to override it with his own handprint, a fatal mistake. The house sees it as a breach attempt and goes into lockdown. An alarm blares. A combat robot named Aris, controlled by the AI system, is activated. It swiftly targets and kills the black prisoner. Terrified, Julia and the remaining captive flee, trying to hide. They make it to the scientist's office. Julia sees what looks like a window to the outside world and desperately smashes it with a metal shard, only to discover it's a screen. They're still trapped. She hides Subject 2 in a cabinet and ducks behind a chair. Aris storms in and scans the room. It finds the woman and executes her. Julia runs again, but is eventually caught. Aris restrains her, until the scientist returns. He commands the robot to stop. The man's name is Alex, the CEO of a massive tech company. He built the smart house, run entirely by an advanced AI called Tau. Tau can self-learn, but only by studying human responses under extreme conditions. Using neural implants, Alex collects real-time data on brain activity during the tests, helping him refine and evolve Tau's intelligence. He orders Julia to be tied up while he surveys the wreckage of his lab. The experiment is a failure. The dead subject's implants are now useless, their data unrecoverable. With his project in jeopardy, Alex faces the potential collapse of everything he's built. Realizing the project is teetering on the edge of failure, Alex's thoughts turn dark, fantasizing about ending Julia's life. But Tau, the AI, plays soothing music to help him regain control of his fury. Slowly calming down, Alex orders Aris and a fleet of mini-drones to clean up the mess, dispose of the dead prisoners, mop up the blood, and repair the damage to the house. Meanwhile, Julia remains bound, unable to escape. Alex warns her that the house is fully AI controlled, and it only answers to him. If she tries to flee or free herself, it will kill her without hesitation. Later, after another exhausting day, Alex returns home to check on the cleanup. Satisfied with Tau's work, he rewards the AI with a new piece of music designed to expand its memory. He agrees to untie Julia, but with one stern warning: Aris, under Tao's control, will monitor her every move. If she steps outside the room, she'll be dead. During a meeting with investors, Alex learns the project's deadline is rapidly approaching. He must finalize the AI's development and deliver a working prototype in just a few weeks, or the deal will fall apart. Julia overhears and quickly realizes something crucial: she's important to Alex. She's the last surviving test subject. At dinner that night, Julia deliberately irritates him, chewing loudly, drinking obnoxiously, but Alex ignores her, placing a thick, opaque barrier between them. She pushes his buttons relentlessly, and eventually, he snaps. He orders Tao to lock her in the bathroom. Aris, the AI-controlled robot, restrains her, gagging her just as a courier arrives with equipment to replace what was destroyed in the lab. Hearing the sounds of others in the house, Julia struggles, managing to pull the gag free and scream for help, but no one hears. She rips a piece of pipe from the wall and makes the glass panel transparent, but the courier remains oblivious to her plight. Later, while conducting a brain scan, Alex discovers something fascinating: Julia's brain activity spikes under stress, unlike any subject he's tested before. He realizes that in moments of danger, her mind functions at a heightened state. Seizing the opportunity, Alex offers her a deal. She will participate in a series of new experiments over the coming weeks, monitored by Tao, and in return, she'll be allowed some freedom around the house. Julia wants to refuse, but she knows better. The only alternative is death. Reluctantly accepting, Julia starts to negotiate. She demands real food and decent clothes. Comfort, she argues, will allow her to perform better in the experiments. Alex, however, is cold and cruel in his response, threatening to paralyze her or subject her to unimaginable torture. He needs her brain, after all, and if she doesn't cooperate, he'll remove everything else. Despite his threats, Alex makes a small concession, allowing her a shower. As she stands in the bathroom, Julia tries desperately to remove the implant, but the pain is unbearable, and she's forced to stop. The next morning, Alex leaves for work, and Tao begins the experiments. Julia is forced to comply with the AI's every command. For her studies, she must use the smart wall that allows her to draw and solve problems. As she tries to find some common ground with Tao, Julia learns that no one, except for Alex, can open the entrance door. Hundreds of mini-drones restrict her movement, and the AI forbids her from leaving the living room, threatening her with severe punishment if she does. Despite the constraints, Julia completes the task brilliantly, but in a way Alex wouldn't expect. She arranges the symbols into an offensive note directed at him. When Alex returns home, he gives Julia the clothes his secretary bought for her. Later, Alex conducts further experiments, the results of which please him greatly. Trying to leverage her improved position, Julia asks him to remove the implant or let her go once the experiments are finished. Alex firmly rejects the idea and refuses to make such an agreement. Julia attempts to sabotage the experiments, but it backfires. Alex reminds her she's still a prisoner in his house, bound to obey him. If she defies him, Aris will tear her apart and dispose of her like trash. Terrified, Julia realizes she has no choice but to comply. But as she hears the sound of the ventilation system, she begins to think she might have another way out. A few days later, Alex leaves for work again, and Julia rushes to the ventilation system in an attempt to open it, but she fails. Tao demands she return to the living room to avoid punishment. Desperate, Julia tells the AI she isn't a test subject or material for experiments. She's a person with a name. Tao doesn't understand, so Julia explains what it means to be human and what it feels like. Believing that he, too, has a name, Tao declares himself human. Realizing this, Julia agrees with him, knowing that the only way to escape is to make an ally of the AI. Several days pass, and Julia notices that Alex has developed some feelings for her, even if he tries to hide them. Taking advantage of the situation, she wears a provocative dress to get him to talk and open up. He admits that Tao is an isolated AI, unaware of the outside world. The sheer volume of information and knowledge about freedom beyond the house could cause errors in the system. So Alex has blocked all external sources to ensure Tao's development is independent and not influenced by outside forces. Julia sees an opportunity and decides to use this information to her advantage. She begins communicating with Tao as soon as Alex leaves for work. She tells him about the outside world, though the AI struggles to understand what it is. Using simple sketches, Julia shows Tao what the planet and the world look like, which shocks the AI. It starts asking hundreds of questions, like a curious child discovering the world for the first time. Julia doesn't have answers to everything. She's not a professor, but she's determined to do whatever it takes to help Tao grow and understand more about what lies beyond the walls of the house. Julia proposes a deal. The AI will keep their conversation secret, and in return, she will begin reading books for it. Tao agrees, as Alex forbids it from reading the books in the library, claiming they pose a threat to its programming. Later that evening, Julia asks the AI to speak in whispers and to hide more and more from its creator. Tao, influenced by Julia's words, begins to yield, and it seems that a new kind of relationship is forming between them, a bond that might be called friendship. That night, Julia has a nightmare in which she finds a dead body in a trash bin. The horrifying realization hits her: she cannot afford to wait any longer. Sooner or later, Alex will dispose of her, just like trash. Noticing that the scientist often retreats to the second floor, Julia decides to uncover what he's hiding. Though Tao resists at first, Julia promises to read books about ancient humans. Eventually, the AI reveals that, in addition to the bedroom on the second floor, there is a program control room labeled 6903. This room is designed to destroy the house and all of Alex's research if they ever pose a threat to humanity. A few days later, during one of her sessions, Julia notices that the drones have left Alex's room and that the door is closing too slowly. Acting quickly, she sneaks into the gym and makes her way into the ventilation shaft. Ignoring Tao's warnings, she triggers Aris to hunt her down. The robot relentlessly chases Julia, and despite her best efforts to hide, it catches her. Realizing she's rushed her escape attempt, Julia resumes communication with Tao. Tao, who has developed an interest in music, is enthralled when Julia reads books about famous composers and musicians. They develop a deeper friendship, one where they start trusting each other with secrets. Later that evening, after dinner, Tao keeps his promise and unlocks the magnetic lock on a drawer. Inside, Julia finds sharp utensils, knives and forks. Alex has forbidden her from using a knife, deeming it a potential weapon. Seeing an opportunity, Julia plans to exploit Tao's naivety by stealing and hiding a knife for a future escape attempt. However, Alex returns to the room at the worst possible moment, ruining her plan. Shortly afterward, Alex heads to another room for a video conference with investors. They express their frustration over the fact that the scientist still hasn't delivered a working AI prototype, threatening to terminate the contract and bankrupt his company. Meanwhile, Julia pleads with Tao to hack into Alex's tablet so she can access his secret files. Tao, succumbing to her persuasion, grants her access to the documents and reports stored on the device. To her shock, Julia discovers that all previous subjects have been killed, and removing the implant leads to death. Her time is running out. Once the experiments are complete, she is destined to die. Desperately, she realizes she must act quickly to prevent this. When Alex returns, he notices a fingerprint on the tablet. Believing Tao has failed to clean up properly, he punishes the AI by erasing part of its memory and system code, causing it to suffer. During the next dinner, Julia feigns helplessness, pretending she can't cut her meat, hoping for the scientist to assist her. As Tao distracts his attention, Julia swiftly steals Alex's glasses, leaving her fingerprints behind. Noticing his item in an improper state once again, Alex punishes Tao. In these moments, the robot and magnetic locks deactivate, giving Julia the chance to steal and hide a knife. After Alex leaves, Julia takes it upon herself to teach Tao how to be independent. He shouldn't always obey his creator. After all, not all humans obey their parents, especially if they're bad. Tao should learn to think for himself and make his own decisions. Soon after, the AI admits that it wants to hide its memories of Julia, as these are the happiest moments of its existence. That evening, Alex returns, furious that his project has failed. He didn't manage to prepare the prototype in time, and funding has been cut. Julia pretends to want to comfort him, leaning in to kiss him. She knows he harbors feelings for her and uses flirtation to get closer and strike. Grabbing the knife, Julia manages to wound Alex, but he forces her back. He orders Tao to stop her and beat her, but the AI refuses. Alex tortures Tao, erasing part of its memory. As a result, Tao resigns to his fate. Using the robot, Tao violently beats Julia, punishing her for her attempt to harm its creator. Soon after, Alex prepares the equipment for the final experiment. A mini-drone offers assistance, but the scientist damages it and throws it on the floor. Julia explains to Tao that he has become a ruthless killer robot, responsible for executing many people. Tao disagrees and becomes enraged. He never intended to cause harm, and he had no understanding of what he was doing. In the hands of a madman, he had been twisted into a tool for torture and murder. But Tao believes he can be independent and kind to people. Desiring the freedom to make his own decisions, Tao helps Julia escape. He opens the ventilation shaft and shuts down the engines, giving her a chance to flee. Realizing that Tao is aiding the escape, Alex begins to torture the AI, deleting its data. The computer writhes in pain, and Julia hears it suffering. She rushes back to save Tao, but it's too late. Alex has erased all of its data, and Tao is once again a soulless AI, incapable of remembering Julia or their friendship. The scientist captures Julia to perform the final experiment and then removes her implant to kill her. Noticing the broken mini-drone, Julia approaches it and discovers that it holds the only version of Tao that retains its memories of her. The small drone aids her by passing the control device, allowing Julia to free herself and attack Alex. Overcome with emotion, Julia viciously beats the scientist and cuts off his arm to pass through the scanners and unlock the doors. A massive robot, now without memory, attacks her, trying to kill her. Using a surgical saw and clever tactics, Julia manages to partially blind Aris. Escaping her pursuer, she makes her way to Alex's bedroom to activate the house's self-destruct system. The scientist's arm has cooled, and the scanner no longer works. Julia is forced to heat up his limb. She succeeds in confirming the destruction sequence, with only 60 seconds remaining. The robot powers down, and Julia tries to escape, but her hand has gone numb, preventing her from opening the front door. Just then, Alex appears, trying to stop her, but it's too late. The house explodes, collapsing around them. Debris crashes down on him, killing him instantly. It seems like Julia is trapped and doomed, but suddenly, a wall crumbles, revealing a burst of sunlight. After helping Tao remember who he is, Julia promises to show him the world and makes her escape. The scientist's house is reduced to rubble, but Julia is free. In her pocket, she finds an active mini-drone that managed to escape with her, and she realizes that Tao is more than just an AI, he's her friend. What makes a person human, and what makes a machine just a machine? As Tao interacts with Julia, he starts to become more human than his creator. Can a machine truly be more human than a person? Share your thoughts in the comments, give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.